Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of Control or Be Controlled, a podcast designed to help you start thinking differently and take control of your life. And I remain your host, Darlington. Today's guest is Butch Phelps. I hope I got your name correctly. Hi, Butch. I hope I got your name correctly.
Okay, yeah, it's Butch Phelps.
All right. He's a functional massage therapist, award winning author, and creator of the stretch and release technique. He helps people 45 plus reduce chronic aches, improve mobility, and move better without relying on meds, injections, or surgeries, by teaching them how to release tight, overworked muscles and take control of their own bodies. Butch, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot, Darlington. I'm glad you had me on.
All right, so let's get into the questions I have for you.
Sure.
You say that stretching is not just about the muscle. What is it really about?
So when we look at the muscles, most of what we're taught worldwide is the muscles is a mechanical thing. So in other words, when you watch most people stretch today, they're pulling their muscle thinking that they have a muscle that's fighting against them and that war is between them and their muscle. The reality is the muscle is also emotional. So whenever you're doing something like stretching or somebody is pushing you hard, your brain is sensing any danger, which could include pain. And as the pain increases, the brain then will contract the muscle for fear that you could tear that muscle or harm yourself. So what happens is that when we're stretching, we're actually fighting with our brain and not the muscle itself. The muscle is just a reactive tissue that basically does whatever the brain tells it to do.
All right, so what do you mean when you say people can improve their flexibility mentally and physically?
So yeah, so when you're looking at flexibility, if someone is extremely flexible, and let's say they can do a full split or do all kinds of different flexibility exercises with no issue at all, when you say something to them about it, they'll just show you with a smile on their face. But a person who's not very flexible is under the false idea that they just were born that way. And the truth of the matter is that their brain has never seen them do it, number one. And so they believe that if they tried to do it, that they were going to hurt themselves. I mean, you see it very simply, like as people get older, you notice that their strides as they're walking get shorter and shorter. And the reason for that is that the fear of falling comes into play. Maybe they did fall, but their idea is that there's nothing they can do about that. By teaching yourself and getting your muscles stronger and increasing your flexibility, what you're doing is you're showing the brain that you can move safely. Once the brain sees you can move safely, then pretty much at any age, you'll walk the way you did when you were younger with taking a longer stride with no fear of falling. But that's where, when we talk about muscles and we get away from just the mechanical side of it, you have to believe by seeing that you can do it. And it's not just sitting and go, I believe I'm flexible, I believe I'm flexible. That's not it at all. You actually have to be able to do the work. And as you see your body become more flexible, the brain then starts to relax because it feels safe.
All right, so what do you say to people who believe pain is inevitable?
Say that again.
What do you say to people who believe pain is inevitable?
So yeah, that's a great question because for a lot of people, especially as they get older, they think that pain is inevitable, that that's part of being 50, 60, 70 years of age. The real truth of it is that sometimes it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. We're looking for it so hard till we actually find it. But the better answer for that is that what happens is that typically as we get into our 50s, 60s, and 70s, we start to slow down. And we're told this by our friends, by physicians, and so forth. And so people take the idea that, well, I'm 55 years old, I need to slow down. And when they do that, they actually stop increasing their muscle strength. They sit long periods of time, which makes them stiffer. And in many cases, they eat poorly, and which causes them to gain weight. So the pain that they're feeling is not about their age as much as it is about their lifestyle choices that they make.
All right, so you learned how the brain, the spine, and the muscles work together.
Yeah.
How does this cause a different strategy from other body workers?
I repeat the last part. You were breaking up a little bit.
How does this cause a different strategy from other body workers?
So when you're looking at the muscles and the brain, so the strategy that I have, which is I put together what's called stretch and release technique. What you're doing is that number one, you're only holding the stretch for about 5 seconds at a time. And that prevents the muscle from going into what's called a stretch reflex, which is keyed in by the brain. But more importantly, you're actually repeating the stretch 10 times. And the reason for the 10 times is to let the brain see that on each time you move your leg or your arm or your neck, it starts to relax and then your movement starts to get better and better. I've done this work on people from 15, 14 years old, all the way up to people 95, 96 years old. And I've seen the same thing over and over, regardless of their age. But it's getting people to listen to what their mind is telling them versus to just accepting it as that's the way they feel. And so, like anything that we do in our lives, if we think there's going to be danger there, we're less likely to want to jump in and do it versus if we think that it's going to be really easy to do, then we'll just go do it, not even think about it. And so when it comes to things like stretching, massage, and even exercise, it's understanding and believing uh, that what we're doing here is that we're not hurting ourselves, we're actually moving forward. But in anything that you do when it comes to your body or the muscles that is new or is different, your brain's going to be a little apprehensive in the beginning because it doesn't know if you could hurt yourself doing it or not. And so that causes your body to sort of stiffen up a little bit. And you have to work with that to be sure you let your brain see that it's safe.
Okay, so what are the misconceptions about aging and how we feel as we age?
Yeah, so there's tons of misconceptions about that. There are certain factors that yes, at 65, I cannot run as fast as I did at 25. At 66, I'm not going to build the muscle mass that I built at 20, 25 years of age. And there's changes in the body, hormonal changes in the body. Just the body aging itself will slow some of that down. Now, that doesn't mean that I can't run at 66 because I do. It doesn't mean that I can't lift weights and build muscle mass because I do, but because as a man, your testosterone starts to drop over your lifetime. And so as you get older, you'll find that you don't build muscle mass as fast. Doesn't mean you still can't work out and be strong. And that the body just doesn't move the same way. So one of the things I always suggest to my clients is in the strength training side of it, understand that in each decade you go through, 30s, 40s, 50s, and so on, that you have to adapt and change your workouts based on that group. So when we're in our 20s, as males, we have lots of testosterone. Our muscles will just grow just hardly, with anything we want to do. And we have tons of energy when we do that. Well, as you age and the hormones start to drop a little bit, the muscles don't build as fast and things start to deteriorate just slightly. But if you maintain a consistency on working to build muscle mass, working to keep your flexibility, and then eating really good food and this nutritious for us, what you find is that your body does not age as fast and that you actually can maintain quite a bit of your strength and flexibility even when you get into your 70s, 80s, and 90s.
All All right. So, who is the biggest mistake, or what is the biggest mistake people make when trying to solve their pain?
So the biggest mistake is when they try to manage a pain. We see that a lot in our healthcare systems where most of our professionals, and so was I when I was in school as well, are trained to treat symptoms so that we manage the symptoms so that we can manage the pain. And the idea that if I have no pain, the symptom somehow magically goes away. That's not entirely true. What happens there is that we're not really looking for the true cause of something. So many times you get put on a treatment plan that lasts a lifetime, especially as you get older, and you're thinking that without that plan, I would just die or my body would just stop working. And in a lot of cases, that's just not true. So it's understanding that let's find out what's actually causing your pain. To give you an example, many times somebody will get up out of bed in the morning time and their back is stiff. And they'll tell you, well, once I get walking around 10 or 15 steps, it eases up, my back's fine for the rest of the day. Or if I sit in a chair for long periods of time, the same thing happens. That person assumes that they have a back issue. Most times, and I'm talking 95% of the time, when I see people like that, what I find with them, it's not a back issue, but it's the front of their thigh issue. The quads have tightened, and when they stand up, it puts too much pressure on the back, pulling from the muscles on the front of their thighs. So once you understand the cause, it's easier to fix, number one, and then you can keep that pain away for the rest of your life.
Okay. So, who is the ideal person to succeed during the stretch and release technique?
So typically the ideal person for that is somebody that's usually over 40, 45. I mean, I do have young athletes in their 20s and 30s, but they're usually over 40, 45. They're active. They want to remain active and they're willing to do the work of the stretching because it is a daily thing and the self massage along with their exercise and their diet. And those people really are the best candidates. I've got people in their mid 90s who still do it, and it's amazing how their body has changed. But if you get people with that mindset, that's usually the ones who have the most success and the fastest success that I've seen so far. Many times people are looking for something they can do one time or maybe for a week, and when the pain goes away, they want to stop. They don't really eat a very healthy diet. They don't really work out a lot, if at all. Those are the ones that typically doesn't work very well for. And it's to keep this body, especially as you get older, to keep this body strong and healthy and vibrant, it takes some work. And you have to work at it on a daily basis for the rest of your life.
So, here is my final question for you.
Okay. Okay.
If there's one thing you wish listeners would take away from this conversation, what would you want that to be?
So I would say to anyone listening that the one thing I want you to take away from it is understand that the secret to aging better is number one, you want to clean up your diet, eat good, whole, nutritious foods, and learn that the flexibility that you have is going to help you because when you're more flexible, it doesn't take near as much strength to move from day to day. And by maintaining the strength with your body, with strength training, you actually keep your bones healthier. So there's a three-pronged process here. You got to remain strong. You've got to remain flexible so that you can keep your joints and your spine healthy. And you've got to put good fuel in your body, which means good food. And for most people, if they do those three things, 70, 80, 90% of their pain that they feel in their body will go away. And it's just a matter of being consistent.
All right. Thank you, Butch, for coming to my show. Thank you for sharing
You're
your
welcome.
perspective about stretching and aging. So, for those who would like to connect with you, how can they do that?
So the easiest thing to do right off the bat is go to my YouTube channel at the Muscle Repair Shop. There's over 200 videos there where I dive into specific things and talk about what's usually causing the pain, why most treatments typically fail, and then how to solve that problem. The second way is you can buy my book on Amazon. It's called Stretch and Release, and in that book it talks about the basics of the stretch and release technique. Again, why most treatments fail. But the last half of the book goes into specific areas like your back, your knees, your hips, and it tells you how to help those and gives you a QR code to get to videos. And then lastly, it's just going to the muscle repair shop. You look me up on Google, and it'll take you right to my website, and you can contact me from that way as well. But that's the best way to do it. And for those who buy the book, and I'll send Darlington the link to my 7 day fast start. For those who buy the book, you can go to the link that I'm going to send Darlington, and you can get a free 7 day fast start with videos that gets you started with the 5 most important stretches that you should do for your body.
All right, Butch, once again, thank you so much for coming to my show and do have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much for having me, Darlington.